36 strikes. That's the count of how many times Bumpy Johnson's knife hit home during that brutal clash in a Harlem eatery. After the 12th slash, Ulysses Rollins was done for. By the 24th, he'd lost his sight forever. By the 36th, the 200 onlookers were frozen in fear, too scared to even inhale. Then Bumpy pulled off the unexpected. He rose to his feet, straightened his necktie, crossed over the fallen form as if it were mere water on the floor, and informed the server he'd like some pasta. This went beyond a mere brawl. It served as a stark warning, and the whole of Harlem received it loud and clear. It was the summer of 1935 in Harlem, New York. Strolling along Lenox Avenue back then, you'd sense the charged atmosphere hanging heavy, much like the buzz right before a thunderstorm. Control of the avenues rested with two rival powers on the verge of explosive confrontation. In one corner stood Dutch Schultz, the German Jewish crime lord who dominated much of the city's criminal scene. He coveted the entirety of Harlem's policy game, and he had no qualms about trampling over countless African-American lives to seize it. Opposing him was Ellsworth. Quote, Johnson, a 30-year-old muscle man who had already carved out a name as the area's fiercest figure, he served under Madame Stephanie St. Clair, the shrewd policy boss who had risen from scratch to forge a mighty operation. Bumpy had sworn to her Harlem would remain in black hands, come what may. Dutch Schultz had dispatched scores of his guys into Harlem already. Bumpy, leading a tight-knit group of 9, had been systematically taking them down. It was straightforward, his spouse would recall in her writings, given how rare it was to spot white folks roaming Harlem in daylight hours. Yet Schultz grew increasingly frantic. He required a fighter capable of tackling Bumpy head-on, a guy with no fear, a brute who could counter Bumpy's ferocity with equal savagery. That's when he reached out to Chicago. Ulysses Rollins measured 6 feet 2 inches. Make it noisy. Make it out in the open. I need every policy operator in Harlem to grasp the cost of defiance. Top-notch jazz up here, and the grub's decent, too. Helen agreed without pause. The Alhambra Bar and Theater, perched at 126th Street and 7th Avenue, was the crown jewel of Harlem. Duke Ellington had performed on its stage. Billie Holiday had belted out tunes there. Friday evening drew crowds of 200 artists, schemers, thinkers, the elite of the district. Bumpy pulled up at 8 p.m., clad in a slate-gray suit paired with a deep red tie. His footwear gleamed like glass. His hat tilted just so. He resembled a financier, not a hitman. Helen waited at their spot, elegant in a navy gown, accented by pearls. They called for beverages. Their chat unfolded smoothly. She probed his youth in Charleston. He inquired about her gig at a publication where she stood as one of just 3 female staffers. The jazz ensemble delivered mellow, soothing vibes. The vibe was ideal. Then at 8:47 p.m., the entrance swung wide. Ulysses Rollins entered. Bumpy spotted him right away. The intruder's gait, chest puffed, gaze sweeping like a hunter's, revealed it all. This wasn't some patron out for a meal. This was a stalker, zeroing in on prey. Their stares locked amid the throng. Rollins grinned, not warmly, but with the smirk of triumph over a spotted quarry. Helen caught the shift in Bumpy's stance. The easy-going fellow from moments ago vanished. Now sat a figure of steel and ice. "Bumpy," she ventured, "what's the matter?" Quote 7. Nothing. Quote 8. All good. Give me a second. Quote 9. That you, Bumpy Johnson? Quote, 10. Depends on who's inquiring, came the reply. Dutch Schultz extends his greetings, claims you've stirred up trouble, and he insists on handling such issues decisively. Sorry for the disruption. Pardon me, might we have some menus? You know, I've got a craving for spaghetti and meatballs all of a sudden. With shaky hands, the waiter jotted the request. The rest of the venue held still, merely observing. Helen gradually edged back to her chair, limbs unsteady as liquid. She lowered herself opposite Bumpy, who methodically cleaned the stains from his fingers using a cloth napkin. "You ought to leave," he murmured softly. "This scene's no fit for you." "Quote, not time. It's tasty," Bumpy remarked, lifting his gaze to meet hers. "You ought to grab a bite." Helen glanced at her own dish, shoved out of the way amid the scuffle. The thought of food turned her stomach. Nausea twisted inside her. Yet Bumpy took 3 additional forkfuls, each calculated, each sending a clear signal. When the medics finally strapped Rollins onto the gurney, Bumpy had polished off half his serving. Officers pulled up just as Bumpy laid his utensil aside. By then, the ambulance had whisked Ulysses Rollins off to Harlem Hospital. He'd pull through, though he'd lose vision in his left eye forever. The authorities had the sense not to cuff Bumpy Johnson. Many were on his dime. The rest recognized that in Harlem, Bumpy embodied justice. "Self-defense," one cop jotted in the official log. "Assailant pulled a blade first. Several bystanders back it up." Come Saturday morning, word of the incident blazed across Harlem like a brush fire. It wasn't merely the brutality. Harlem folks had witnessed plenty of that. But how Bumpy wrapped it up. The spaghetti. That part turned mythic. Fathers shared it with their boys. Mothers passed it to their girls. That's Bumpy Johnson's way of doing things. Ice-cold calm, even with fresh blood staining his fingers. The tale hit Dutch Schultz by midday. He was holed up in his office at the Harmony Social Club in the Bronx when his underling burst in, pale as a ghost. "Boss, Rollins is laid up in the hospital. Bumpy Johnson sliced him apart in some eatery, gouged out his eye." Schultz stubbed out his stogie. "Is Rollins gone?" "Nah, but he blew it." Schultz rose and paced to the glass. "You see the issue. We figure we can bully those Harlem toughs. We assume sending in a brute, tougher, fiercer, bulkier, will make 'em fold. So what's our move?" Schultz fell silent for a stretch. Then he uttered words that would reshape organized crime's landscape. "We back off Harlem." "What?" "You got it. Bumpy just delivered a warning, and it boils down to this. Harlem's off limits. We've sacrificed 40 guys chasing that turf." 40. And Johnson hasn't broken a sweat. Get Lucky Luciano on the line. Say we want a parlay. Say we got to cut a bargain with Bumpy Johnson. Sorry you witnessed that mess. That guy showed up to end you. Yeah. And you sensed it was coming? Yeah. So the entire meal was, what, a setup? I didn't rig any setup. I just went about my day. But if someone's gunning for you right in view of bystanders, you settle it swift and you settle it for good. So folks grasp the consequences if they try again. The spaghetti. This guy just carved out another man's eye, and now he's digging into his noodles like it's a family feast. No show, just real appetite. That moment sealed it. We all got it right there. Bumpy Johnson transcended mere threat. He embodied something icier, something indelible. And that's the essence of icons. They don't emerge from grand spectacles. They take shape in the subtle beats, the nuances, the flick of a cufflink, in the stride past a fallen foe, in the casual call for spaghetti. 36 slices, a single statement, an enduring myth. That was the evening Harlem truly grasped Bumpy Johnson's essence. If this tale of his unflinching dominance stirred you, smash that like and hit subscribe. We're unveiling fresh, hidden Harlem chronicles weekly. Believe me, the upcoming one's wilder still. Leave a comment below. Could you muster the guts to chow down on pasta after Bumpy's handiwork? And what's your take on Ulysses Rollins' fate post that chaos? Enable alerts. We're diving next into how Bumpy strolled solo into Lucky Luciano's lair and struck a pact that reshaped the underworld for good. Keep in mind, in Harlem, admiration wasn't handed out. It was forged. With a single knife, 36 incisions, and a simple plate of spaghetti at a